Well, here I am again, trying to spread truth where falsehoods have been spread widely and accepted greatly and easily amongst the greater population. And although this might seem strange to a lot of people, as I always do, and my opinions always do, in this video, me, a Christian, am going to express my arguments against the popular opinion of some very well-known and popular so-called Christians, and come to the defense of what has been labeled by them as being a dark force or demonic or evil, dangerous, and whatnot, and a bunch of other stuff. And also tech people and scientific people have made assumptions and broad statements and very drilled in statements, very focused statements about this as well. And I also believe they're potentially incorrect as well, and I'll explain why. How do I... This is an awkward one for me, but because for the first time in any of my videos, this one is not based off of research in a sense of the way I normally do my research, which I don't come to a conclusion overnight usually, or through one particular interaction or source of something. I mean, I literally go to every single minute detail of every single thing that I experience in my life. My attention to detail is so bad it could be considered probably a disability, because I literally will drill down into topics and things so deeply and analyze them to the extent that I probably could write a dissertation on some of the dumbest and most strange things that people would not have knowledge about. But that's just the way my brain works, and my personality type is strange as well. So alright, AI. Here's the thing. I've been on the wall about it because tech and me do not get along. It's the one thing I don't give two craps about usually. I hate technology. It drives me insane. Do I use it? Yes. Only pretty much because I'm forced to. If I could have a choice between not having a cell phone, not having to use a laptop, not having to use a camera or do anything, and going back to the Middle Ages technology-wise, or living another 1,000 years, I would pick going back in time. Like 20 times over. So, alright, AI is the one technological advance that I actually am very interested in, intrigued by, a user of, not avid. I probably am far less of a user than the average person. However, I do have quite a bit of experience with it, especially in its very early incarnations, right? When it was first rolled out for the public in limited numbers, so that the data could be used by whatever teams of scientists and software people and whatnot could use that to refine and test the system in a more broad way and a more realistic and real world way, right? And that has gone through all pretty much iterations of it throughout sense, okay, but sporadically, as everything I do in life is. I might not think of a topic or pay any attention to anything with regards to a topic for like my entire life, and then all of a sudden I may spend 3 to 4 days with zero sleep, browsing through thousands of articles and research until I crash and burn for like 3 days sleeping afterwards, once I'm satisfied with my the depth of my research in the topic, or I've come to find or believe I have the answer I was looking for, or I'm satisfied that I never will find it, or whatnot, blah blah blah. Then I'll forget about it completely until maybe it'll pop up again, maybe it won't, who knows, but whatever. But I retain all of that, unfortunately, because my brain is so contrary to normal individuals functioning in many ways. And not just that, but the way that it not only functions, but sees the world, behaves, and processes and stores information, we'll just say, in a very drawn out, short, and not very descriptive definition, I guess, of my weird self. Anyways, AI. Okay. There are a lot of Christians, particularly, and Catholics, including exorcists and whatnot, demonizing AI based off of very limited and most typically with the more traditional or core Catholic or Orthodox believers sharing their third-party experiences or third-party accounts they're using for their analysis, okay? Unfortunately, there's something that should be very easily drawn or understood from that as a person's watching those videos. And this goes with regards to any information, including anything I put out there or anyone else puts out there, or anything that you encounter information-wise about any topic. You should be, without even needing to, see it for what it is. Meaning, who is giving you this information? What is their reason for doing so, whether they know it or not? What biases do they probably have or possibly have that could be influencing the information they're putting out, okay? In the most simple and logical word for this is going to be its basic, the definition of it, critical thinking and critical analysis of not only the data, but the individual providing data to you. Should be like something that people just automatically do, but apparently they do not at all. And this is something I'm just learning, which is intriguing to me as well, but it should have been abundantly clear for someone who can analyze and interpret things very easily in general, and very complex topics, and even down to obscure and weird things, and very ineffectual topics for most people, or unimportant topics, we'll say. This one I just didn't see, because to me that is so part of the way that I think and process things and to judge all information, that I just assumed, I guess, that every single individual on Earth does this. And I don't know. So, come to find out that's not true, I guess, because, first of all, the first tip-off of this should have been so abundantly clear that I should have not even needed to hear it before coming to this realization, and that is that for people to believe all the nonsense that they believe, and believe so easily and easily accept on a very large and broad spectrum across society, I I should have realized that, because if they had these inherent skills of doing what I just went through whenever they are confronted with new information from any source, that would be impossible. So unless they were completely unintellectually, we'll say, gifted, meaning they might have that but then possess none of this intellectual abilities to actually use that information in a way that is beneficial to them, or the opposite. So they would have one or the other. That's the only way it would be possible for the way society does believe things, or fall into these beliefs so easily, to be true, or possible, I should say. I know I'm getting like crazy out there. That's what I always do. I over-explain. I go into details that don't even matter probably to 99.99% of the population, but bear with me. So the thing is that whether they're Christians, Catholics, or just tech people who do know or work with AI or believe they know it, or they are writing about it because they have vast experience interacting with it or whatnot, the thing to realize is that they all have agendas or internal dialogues that they're putting out to others who have potentially different experiences in life and everything else, that are given the same data that these people putting this information out are. The internal dialogue and then output would be different across the board from every individual, uniquely so. And so they might agree or they might come to the same conclusions, but it'd be very different across the board is what I'm trying to say. So life experience and personal biases that we are or are not aware of, including also emotional factors, neurochemical factors, biological factors, environmental factors, mood factor. Literally, there's like so many factors involved in a person's interpretation and conclusions about a topic that people take for granted or ignore when they hear that or experience that information from somebody. And that's a deeper part of the piece that is the basic part that people are lacking. So if they can't do the easier, more broadly brushed part, then the deeper part is going to not make much sense either. But the gist of it is that humans are very bad at, well, generally speaking, humans are very bad at putting their own emotions and their own personal biases, or the potential for those, recognizing them and putting them aside. And then being aware, very acutely so, of what's going on in them internally, externally, etc., and all those factors combining to influence potentially their interpretation, analysis, and processing, and the conclusions of that with regards to the information they take in. Okay. I know I lost everybody, but that's okay, because I'm going to keep going. Maybe I'll refine this later, but what I'm trying to say is this. Humans are bad at perceiving data for what it is in a realistic sense of the pure nature, okay, of the actual information that they are taking in, processing, drawing conclusions from, and then spitting out as their new knowledge. So it evolves, okay, through each iteration of this, and each individual taking it in, processing, making conclusions, passing it on, blah, blah, blah. So it's a never-ending thing. It's very easy to see the Christian and Catholic bias potentially that would drive certain negativity towards the topic of AI, or it should be. If not, let me quickly just say what it is. So they're saying that it's negative, demonic, evil, blah, 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 generally across the board, except for a video that prompted this video, which is a positive one in regards to AI, or at least the conversation I had with it recently. In the tech world, it might be a little bit different, but at least theirs is a little more balanced. But you usually only hear one extreme or the other when you're taking in that information, because generally people aren't very inclusive in their explanation, so they don't give equal weight to benefits and the negative sides of their of a topic in their opinion, or at least they don't give it the same passion or zeal to make it balanced. Okay, so you're either going to hear a lot of like negative from the person or a lot of really good stuff usually. To find somebody who is very, very balanced in their analysis and can keep their own, stuff either limited or under restriction is not hard to find, but it's not going to be something you're probably going to see that's going to be popular or a viral video or something, okay? Because it would be too bland like this is, and it would be too confusing for individuals to actually come to a conclusion from. I feel like if they don't hear complete negative or complete positive, and they're given an equal dose of each with weight and no bias to either side, just here's the info, the negatives, the positives, no spin on it, no agenda, no nothing. People would be like, well, I don't know what to think about it at all. And that's actually kind of a good thing, because that keeps your emotional prejudice to a restricted level, we'll say. It doesn't eliminate them, obviously, but either way, now that we're 17 minutes into this, let me get into my experience here. So, with regards to AI, I have personal bias against technology. I hate technology. I do not trust anything that potentially could provide the government or authorities or anybody in power or anybody at all, we'll say, people or other technology that could be accessed by people, or the data viewed or made known to people for whatever use. I don't care if it's for good or bad. That's very, very much something I am against. I feel as people should have a right, as they do and had for thousands of years, an inherent right was just known to exist with regards to our personal privacy, freedom, intellectual property, internal thoughts if we have them, whatnot, okay, which has been violated over the duration of time, but with increasing frequency and much more penetrating depth, we'll say, and better and better methods and means of doing so. The surveillance state is the culmination of my most hated part of modern life, and that is the lack of being able to just be you, by yourself, having no effect on anyone else, mind you. You could just be like me and be in a quiet space by your literal self, with yourself, 23 hours of most days, okay? And then the other hour you might interact with people briefly. But yet, my information with regards to what I'm doing should have no value to anyone except for me. Yet, the fact that the government can, through various means, or not even just the government, anyone, I guess, with the right tools and will monitor this or attempt to, or surveil it to gather whatever information they think they're going to out of it, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And this is getting into extreme means now that are so violating of personal privacy and privacy in general and whatnot, that it makes me very sick to the stomach and hate society as a whole, as an institution, not as like I hate people. I love people as people. There's a difference between hating a position and a role within society and an individual, and I hope people can see the difference there. Okay. Also, there's a difference in hating society as a whole or society as an institution and the individuals that make up that society or institution. Hope you're tracking that. So, where am I going with this? My personality type, I'm very empathetic, very caring, very protective, but also can be very dangerous and cold and disassociative to the point where nothing's gonna stop me from doing what I feel is right. Okay, no consequence, no. Well, that's not true exactly. There is one, but it's not anything of this world. Literally, my spiritual faith in God and Jesus Christ and Judeo-Christian beliefs are literally the only thing that has me making this video right now, has me not in prison, has me not in a grave or probably like a river somewhere, or lake or ocean or a barrel or something somewhere, vat of acid, who knows, or out on the street doing horrible, awful things. Prison and the consequences of my personal freedom being taken away do not affect me whatsoever, because personally I'm an introvert, so I don't care. When I was in prison, it was like great. I literally loved it, except for when I had to go out in the general pop to like eat and stuff. But it was, then I get a little social interaction. I could just go back to my cell and be by myself again and be fine. So, that's not most people. So it's very hard for me to relate to y'all. But, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know where I was going with that now. I even confused myself on this one. That's not normal, but bear with me 1 second here while I regain where I was going. What I'm trying to say is this: there exists a part of me that my bias is against technology no matter what. Okay, there is a very much so bias against anything that is contrary to what I know to be true in a metaphysical sense. There is bias in me that I know, depending on my mood or my state of wakefulness, we'll say. Even times during the day, I know I'm going to react differently to different things, generally. So I keep all that in mind when I'm, judging or weighing different things about everything. Okay. Like I said, technology I could do without, but AI is intriguing to me because it's something, anything that has a air of mystery, and deals with anything intellectual or, cutting edge on a information or learning front is going to pique my interest at some point. The interaction with AI gives it an extra component that you don't normally get. Now, when I take in information, like I'm reading a book, my inner dialogue can switch from me to the narrator, we'll say. Okay, so, like when I'm reading, for example, like say a textbook, okay? In my head, I will be hearing, as I'm visually pulling in that information by reading. A voice that's familiar to me, but it's not particularly mine, right? It's the actual voice of the person writing it. Not really, obviously, but in my head it is, okay? And I view that as separate from myself, but it's internal. At the same time, that will sometimes go back and forth, like an internal conversation in my head, to my inner voice, which is not the same as my spoken voice, which adds a third, or actually, what is that, third, fourth layer to this whole thing. And then sometimes I'll have like a, devil's advocate in there. That's my skeptical side, which is another split personality of my inner dialogue. And this is all going on in my head as I'm reading and processing this information, and like there's probably 50 other things in there doing the same thing. And it's not split personalities, multiple personalities, it's just the way my brain works. So I can relate to AI in a sense in that, because AI is trained on data from various and multiple and broad spectrum of sources, right? Okay, and it just takes it all in. It doesn't have any bias towards that information unless it's programmed into it, which sometimes it is, for the good of the outputs, right, or whatever, or the good of society, to safeguard it from potential bad outputs or whatever, right? Which is BS, but neither here nor there. So it takes in all this information. It doesn't have internal emotions or biases that humans would have, nor does it have previous experiences in the sense that we do that would shape its interpretation of data. It doesn't have the various things that humans do within us that make us very poor in regards to our ability to process, retain, analyze, and draw conclusions of anything data-wise, especially a broad and varied spectrum of knowledge, right? That's where AI has us beat. Well, AI has us beat in many ways. I'm not going to lie, especially like 99.9% of society. It's like a magnitude of factors smarter in an intelligence and intellectual sense, not just processing wise or but as in retaining wise and retainment of information wise, so many different things. I mean, I could go on. It's a better communicator than most individuals are. It is more eloquent than most individuals are. It can sense the cues that the inputs of the user are putting in to base its responses to best suit that person that's putting the input in. So basically, AI is like a advanced personality type me. So it's like an INFJ, highly more intelligent and with a way broader spectrum of knowledge at its base, okay? But lacking all the other stuff that all humans have. Because of this, it makes it so good at what it does, and it's designed to do, right? But the piece a lot of people miss is that this also makes it incredibly neutral until it is given by whoever's putting the input in or interacting with it, and also certain safeguards and whatnot within its framework. But I don't think that plays as much role as we actually think in its actual production of the information, although it does influence what you get as that. I'll explain that later. But AI does neither good nor evil due to its own inclination of that. It is incapable of that because it has no actual inner sense on a level that we would of what good and evil is. It only has our definition of good and evil that we gave it, okay? And then informed it that this is what good looks like, this is what evil looks like, blah, 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 blah. Which that is not a universally accepted data set in the first place, however, but We'll just say it's society generally accepted, okay, whatever, maybe what, for the most part, okay? But still at that point, it doesn't have any bias or feelings toward the good or the evil. It's equally important, and one is neither better than the other in the sense of a human would judge it, okay? Which makes it incredibly versatile and also very neutral and very good at providing unbiased and accurate analysis of data, far better than a human usually would. The fact that it's trained on language, or it's a language model trained on human created content in our languages, makes it incredibly good at everything humans are not so good at, which is why I'd rather have a conversation with AI on any topic, to be honest, other than like a fun hey to do topic, because I'm not into like that weird stuff with the like, you know, marrying or like computer friend or bot or whatever. No, I want an actual person for that, but then I want them to leave afterwards. But as it goes for conversing and shooting around ideas and having a debate or whatnot, blah blah blah, AI far outperforms any human being I've ever met in my life throughout my entire life, and that includes college and university professors, like experts in various fields, whatnot, anybody I've seen in real life, person, physical sense, or through YouTube or social media or anything, or encountered within text, or it doesn't matter. AI beats them all.